Daddy's daughters. Welcome back. Another episode here at Help Me Out with Shema Ladd, your personal development and premarital life coach. So, just playing a little jazz this morning. Getting this day started, okay? So, what are we talking about today? Yay! Welcome back. I'm so glad you guys have been following about this daddy-daughter relationships. I am just so stoked and pumped about this because, again, I am a daughter. And sometimes we take that for advantage, right? We take it for granted that we have a father. We have a mother. Hey! So, learn to honor your parents. As the Bible says, that's one of the 10 commandments. Honor your parents. And so this is a way for me to honor one of my parents, my father, right? So today we're going to talk about the bond between fathers and daughters. The bond is real. The bond is serious, okay? The bond is unbreakable. Do you hear me? So daddies, tune in for the rest of this video because I feel like a lot of men don't understand that, because you go through things with your kids. They go through seasons where they don't like you. They might talk about you, talk back to you, criticize the things you have provided, the things you have done. But that's just, life development. That's growth and development. Those are phases that we all have been through. Like I said, I gave my parents a run for their money. Okay. So, and then too for the daughters, because I've seen so many daughters and the bond, it could be a good bond or a bad bond. It could be a codependent bond. It could be a bond that, that keeps you stuck. But either way, there is a bond there between fathers and daughters. And can't nobody break that. Even fathers. Like I said on previous videos, you could have someone that abused their child, exploited their child, and that bond is still there, unbreakable. So anyhow, let's go through a few things. I just want to explain how this bond takes place, and it'll tie in on the end. So, starting off, babies, our first thing they're trying to learn is trust. Can I trust you? And that sounds crazy because they're babies and you don't think that little infants and babies think thoughts, but they are. And you can read on the Maslow's hierarchy of development. Erickson, who is a psychologist, the work that they've done that explains the growth and development from birth until end of life. But I'll let y'all do that homework on your own. But that's a lot of supporting facts on how children begin to develop those relationships with the parent. So you start off, like I said in previous videos, I always felt my father there. That's where the bond began, and then you get older, 2 years old, 3 years old. Can I trust this person? Can I trust this person? Will they feed me? How often do they feed me? Does this hurt? Does this feel good? And that's how kids, they begin to learn, the adult and how to survive in the different type of environments that we come from. But for me, one of the biggest trust issues that I remember, swimming in a swimming pool. So I was probably two, maybe. Dad swimming in the swimming pool, and I'm watching him go. I'm sitting in my diaper on the end, just looking. And so, Dad would hold me in his arms in the pool, and we float, and I would be nervous because I didn't know if he was gonna let me go, or what kind of joke. Because my dad was funny; he liked to play, and so I didn't know, what kind of joke is this gonna be? A joke where I almost drowned? What kind of joke is this? So, but he went into the deep end of the pool and he was at the bottom. So I decided with my crazy 1.5, 2-something-year-old self, I'm going to jump in the pool too. And I knew I couldn't swim, but I knew my daddy was there and he was going to get me wherever I went. I jumped in and I saw daddy go up and I'm thinking, I hope he saw me jump in this pool. I'm thinking this at 1.5, 2 years old. Do you hear me? And I'm sitting at the bottom of the pool with my legs crossed, looking up to see if daddy ever gonna come back in the pool. And at the same time thinking, what if I die? How do I know what die means at 2 years old? How do I know what die means? You know, there's a supernatural aspect there. Your spirit, who you really truly are, that already has a body of knowledge and information before you're birthed into this earth. So, but I didn't know all of that. I know it now because I've done a lot of study, a lot of research, things like that. But, you know, I sat there and sure enough, daddy came back down. He lifted me and hurried and rushed me to the top because he didn't know how much longer I was going to be able to hold that breath. But I learned from that experience, I can trust my daddy. I can trust him. Even when I think I'm about to die, I can trust him. So that created a bond, an unspoken bond between me and my dad that no one knows about unless my dad shared that with them or unless I shared that with them. Because nobody was outside to have that experience in the pool but me and my father. That was a personal bond that no one in the world knew about at that moment in time. And no one knew that bond that had just took place but me and my father. And we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to speak about it. We don't have to discuss what that bond meant to him and what that bond meant to me. It's an unspoken bond that does not need an explanation. And you're going to have those kind of bonds with your daughters, and daughters, you have those bonds with your fathers that you don't have to say a word, but you and him know because you built that and you worked on that. And then again, like I said on previous video, you get to do your training wheels on your bike. Dad put your training wheels on. If it was your dad, it could have been your mom or someone else, but this is just a general idea of, the things that would normally possibly happen. I understand there's different families. Some kids have 2 moms. Some kids have 2 dads. I understand you might have adoptive parents or foster parents. It could be different situations. Maybe you're with your grandmother. You're not with your, different situations. But just, try to hear what I'm saying about the bond part with your parents. Because again, you could have had a negative issues with your parent and you still have that bond. And it may be a bond that you don't even really want, but you stuck with it. Okay. And if that's the kind of bond you have, I have another client that has that kind of a bond. And anytime you guys want to book any coaching services with me, you can go to my website and I'll put the link in the description box below, futuremepro.com. Just go to the contact page, shoot me an email. I'll respond back to you and get you set up for some coaching services to help you through that. I have one, I call him my brother, but he's really my cousin. But we're related on both sides of our families. And so we pretty much like brother, sister. But he was having some, some small issues with his daughter. And I said, hey, bro, just try this. That's it. And sure enough, he tried it and he come back but he had that manly thing because he don't want to get no advice from a woman. He don't want to get advice from a female. He don't want to, that manly ego pride stuff going on. But he loved his daughter enough to ask. And for me, hats off to you. Hats off to you, daddy. Because you loved her enough to ask, what can I do? And so he come back and he said, I did what you said. Almost in a way like I didn't want to, but I said, well, what happened? And she started talking, and I said, see, you know, it's not that's difficult, but it's just fathers, dads, men. I understand. Again, you're not emotional. You're not talkative. Sometimes you can be afraid to talk to a female, a woman, even if it's your daughter, because we're talkative. And our neural links are like interconnected like crazy wire. And we can just jump to and for you, that can be draining. It drains your energy. And it requires you to do a lot more thinking and a lot quicker than what you're normally used to. But in that case, just say, hey, daughter, baby girl, express yourself, but if you could do it in a more condensed way, so it's not so much attached to it. And sometimes it might take the daughter to what I call babble. Women, it may take them babbling for a while until they finally get to it. And they're like, then they can say it. Then they can say it. You know, so sometimes you might have to let them babble a while until they get to the point. And men are just kind of like, stop the babble, just get to the point. And the women was like, well, I'm trying to get to the point, but I have to go through this to get there. Right? So for that part, it has to be a compromise. Okay, it has to be some kind of compromise. So women, ladies, please work on condensing your conversation, because I know we can babble. And I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, because I'm so research study, trial testing type. Scientific, okay? I am a scientific. And so I'm always poking and prodding and and I gotta okay, that connect, bam, that's it. So women, try to learn to think about those processes, get to your point first. And even if it helps you to do your babble and then write your point on paper. Do your babble on your own, in your own head, and then get to the point and write that point on paper. All your points on paper without the babble. And then when you go to talk to your father, and for some of you, it might be your man. Though this is for fathers, daughters, this concept works because men are wired a certain way and women are wired a certain way. And so when you're coming to that compromise, you have to accept how the other sex is. You know, I could get mad and say, keep up. Did you hear anything I said? I said this and I said that. Okay. But no, stop. Understand, they listen differently. They receive information differently. So if you know you're going to have that conversation, do all your babble. Everything you know you want to say, do all your babble. Get to the point. Write your points on paper. So when the discussion comes up, you can just say your point and he can just clearly just hear your point. And then if he doesn't understand your point, you can go back and pull something out of your babble to help him understand the point. That's a better way to go, because you'll have his ear immediately. But if you go through that babble first, you're going to lose his attention. You're going to lose some things, okay? And I've even seen this happen with my dad, because I'll be talking and dad face will change and I'm like, oh. Right? So, do that. Another thing that bonds financially. Your parents, your dad, you raised us. I think you almost take yourself for granted sometimes as fathers. I really do. Because though you guys are providers, you're always out working, you're always out grinding, trying to make a living for the family, trying to make everybody happy as you can and be happy yourself too. You do so much and sometimes it might feel like you're not doing enough. But I'll say, in everything that my father did. And you guys, for the next few videos, you'll see me post personal pictures of my life, of my family. Like the last video, you saw me, my horse. We had 3 horses, Quanis, Jake, and Lady. So they're dead. They're no longer here. They're deceased, and they've been deceased for a few years. And so this is my video to wherever they at in the animal heavenly world. Hey, Quanis. Hey, Jake. Hey, Lady. Miss riding you guys. You guys were wonderful. Jake was something different, though. Anyhow, so you'll see me posting personal pictures just to add a little bit more authenticity to this coaching. So you know that the things that I'm teaching are not just things that, experiences that I've watched some of my clients go through, or people in my family or friend, coworker, whoever. It's also personal. I've been through things. You know, I've you know, even in my family. And it doesn't matter if you come from a family that has money, or if you come from a family that does not have that much money. The drama could be the same, no matter how much money you got. A wealthy, rich, supposed to be classy person can act trashy, classless, and scandalous, just as a person that's grimy. It don't matter. So, I hope you guys enjoy my photos that I'm posting on these next videos as well too. But yeah, so those bonds are unbreakable, Dad. Please understand, because when you get with other women, and other women come into the picture and and they looking at what they can get from you. Not all women, but you come with baggage. And you know this because even men, you go out, you find another woman, she got 2 other kids, or she got 3, 4, 5, however many kids she got. That's something you have to consider, because you have to take that baggage in. You might not necessarily look at those kids like they're your biological. And we already heard, we all know you treat me like a step parent. Oh, I got treated like a stepchild. Well, you know what the connotation to that is. That a step parent is going to treat the stepchild like how Snow White got did. The lady came in, killed the daddy, or the daddy dead, and she got her in there scrubbing floors like she a peasant, while her and her family, you know, just living the life. You know, so treat it like a stepchild, you know, with that. And nobody wants their child to be treated like a stepchild. Especially once you're dead and gone, and you trusted a person that you thought was going to be right by your children, and they were not. So stay tuned through the rest of these videos, because this is really about preserving the daughter-daddy relationships, protecting your family and your legacy, okay, from outsiders who are looking to get a quick dime, okay? So the bond between fathers and daughters is unbreakable. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always the exceptions that happen, but for the most part, they're unbreakable. So, you know, even with money, Daddy would get money. He happy, he excited. I'm 3 years old now, 4 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Every year, Daddy get a big wad of money. He gonna call my name. Shema. I'm like, Daddy. He got a wad, and he'll just lay it all over the sofa. Just $100 bills, hundreds. And I'll come run up to Daddy, and he got this big grin on his face, and I'm looking up at my daddy, and he said, look at the money. And I'm looking, I don't know much about money. I'm like, oh, money. I don't know, but Daddy happy about it. Woo! And he'll tell me to put my little hands, and I'll rub my hands in the money. And I'm going to celebrate with my daddy, right? Because obviously this stuff making him happy, so I'm happy too. And he did this every year. Shema, come in. And this, you know, this was back in the 70s, giving away my age. I'm born in 75. So what, 77? Since 77, 8, 9, 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s, maybe the 1990, 91. But Daddy would lay all this money out. And every time I come playing the money with Daddy, laughing the money with Daddy, And then I get my job and daddy started telling me, okay, save your money, save your money, save your money. This is what you do, this is what you do. So when it comes to money, you know, and this is one of the things that, you know, when my father passed, and I'm going to give you an example, that bond is unbreakable. So what do you think that put in my head as a child, year after year after year, planning money with my daddy? Watching how my daddy moved with money. Listening to my father tell me. So when my father passed, I'm going to tell y'all this. My father passed, and I was getting ready to leave out of town, and I told my father's widow then at that time, and I said, well, I'm heading back out of town. Anything you got to tell me or say, let me know before I go back. She said, oh, yeah, meet me at Applebee's. And I'm thinking, Applebee's? Because my dad, you know, your parents don't tell you to meet them out to eat nowhere. You go to the house and you meet with your parents, da-da-da. And I'm like, what is this? Go to Applebee's. We sit down, me and my sister, and she just got this ugly look on her face. And me and my sister looking at her, she sit down, y'all gonna eat? And slides a blue piece of paper called a death certificate, which I had never seen before, and says, you ain't getting nothing till I'm dead. And me and my sister just sitting there looking like, what the hell wrong with her? And we looking like, what is this? Right? And she starts listing all these bills she got. Well, your daddy didn't do this, and you know he didn't do that, and he didn't believe in this, like ragging my daddy. I just buried my daddy. You ragging my daddy, like to his kids. And so I'm like, but it was odd because for a person that married into my family to sit there and say, your daddy didn't believe in this, and your daddy, as if I didn't know my own daddy. And I thought, does she know we his daughters? Does she know that she wife number 3? Did she? So me and my sister ain't saying nothing. We just sitting there looking at her. And then she starts saying, well, this needs to be fixed, that. And I'm like, well, do you need help with it? Do you need finance? What do we need? She's like, no. And she pretty much started setting the stage to say she broke. They broke. She wanted to convince me that my daddy was broke. So now back to the bond. How do y'all think that computed in me and my sister's head when she was talking? Because it's like it's almost like she thought we didn't know our own father. Or like I don't know what she was thinking. But this is an example to you dads. No one can break that bond. When someone else comes to your child trying to tell your child about you, it won't fly. Because fathers, when you put things into your daughter, you're putting things into her that you hold close to your heart, right? So type below, what kind of things did you put into your daughter that you want her to know no matter what? No matter who comes to her, no matter who does what are the qualities that you're instilling into your daughter? Because they're going to be there. They're not going nowhere. You know what? Because you're looking at a daughter who was raised by a man. And even when people offend me and people do things, you know what? I'm a woman, but it's my father that raises up in me. You ain't never seen nothing till you seen a woman stick her chest out, and I'm not no man. But I will stick my chest out. You hear me? Because I grew up watching my father walk very proudly with his chest out. I'm not trying to be my father, but was my environment. That's what I grew up seeing. It's not what you tell your daughter. It's not what you tell your son. It's what they see you doing. It's not what you say. It's what they see you doing. Don't get me wrong, your words hold weight. But what sticks in their character, their personality, what sticks is what they see you doing. What do your children see you doing? And it's things I would see my dad, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't, like, his wife would be cleaning around the house. I never seen my daddy help her clean. And she would get upset because I would say something, be like, Daddy, how come I never see you help her? And about an hour later, I see Daddy vacuuming the floor. He didn't vacuum because she wanted him to. He didn't vacuum because she asked him to. He vacuumed because he wanted me to know. I want a man to help you. Don't think that you do it all and you get with a man who's not going to help you too. So the message of my father doing that was him showing me how to interact with a man. But she would get upset because he'll listen to his daughter, but he won't listen to her. That ain't my problem. Fathers, take note of that. Because some women that you get with will feel some kind of way because you'll listen to your daughter before you listen to her. Okay? And I know why you don't, because there may be some arguments there, some disagreements, maybe a little bit of history there, some whatever. And the bond with your daughter, though, that can cause jealousy. That can cause her feeling some kind of way. Okay? So it would be times again. I know my daddy, when my daddy party and turn up, baby, my daddy turns up. Okay? So I know this because I saw it with my mother. I saw it with other situations. I know my daddy. The bonds between fathers and daughters. I am the bonded daughter that, daddy might cheat and go cheat and slide through on somebody. I'm that daughter that's when he done slid through somewhere. Like, my bond with my father was solid. But my family don't know that. And your family won't know that. Because certain things that you don't want everybody knowing, right? But sometimes your kids know a little something, don't they? But you know what? Your daughters, your kids don't say nothing. Some might, like I said, there's an exceptions to all. Some kids don't say nothing. And that also testifies to a certain type of bond that fathers and daughters have. Okay, so sometimes I'll be like, I'll call the house, they throw the party, and she answer the phone. I'll be like, tell daddy don't drink too much and da-da-da-da. And she go out. Yeah, your daddy grown. You don't tell him and I'm thinking, what the hell? I'm trying to keep daddy from cheating on you. I didn't say that though. I knew what I was doing. But it was funny watching her cut off her own help all the time. All the time. And so, I was like, well, she gonna get what she asking for. But, those kind of bonds are the bonds where the daughter could say, well, daddy, don't stay out too late tonight. Daddy, don't drink too much. Well, daddy's, because daddies will listen to the daughters. They'll at least take into consideration what we're saying. And those are bonds that are unbreakable. Why? Because you raised your child. When you were sick and your child draw you pictures and say, hope you feel better. Who was drawing you pictures? It wasn't your cousins. Who was bringing you tea and something to eat? It wasn't your uncles or your brothers or your homies. Most likely it was your daughters. If it wasn't your wife or your girlfriend, most likely it was your daughters or one of your kids. Here, daddy, here's some soup. Daddy, I scrambled you some bacon and eggs. What you need? Those are the ones that are ride or die. They know, they gonna know the father, they gonna know you better. Trust me, the bonds between fathers and daughters is unbreakable, daddies. They unbreakable. So again, I'm gonna encourage you to communicate. Communication. And daughters, again, cut down on the babble, get to the point. Cut down on the babble, get to the point. Don't give your fathers a hard time. Do not, because they have enough hard time from their women and their wives, which can be us sometimes, depending on which side you on. But yeah, don't give dad such a hard time. Just watch their back. Just watch their back. So this is the conclusion for the bonds between fathers and daughters. I thought it was, but here's some more. So even that bond, because again, domestic violence. So my father, as much as he abused my mom, I was never disloyal to my father. My feelings were hurt about my mother. It was times I thought she was going to die and she wasn't going to come back in the house alive. It was a lot of plotting, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm a kid. But I never left loyalty to my father. That bond is still there. I didn't go outside the house talking about it, to anybody, though I'm sure my family knew. And it was just, it was a bond because my dad took me everywhere with him. Though he was abusive to my mother, I was his firstborn child. So I was everywhere with my father. So fathers, spend time with your girls. Create those memories. And it may seem far off because maybe your child's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Do not, I repeat, do not discount their age, thinking they won't remember and thinking it does not matter. Do not think that way, because they will, and they do. So be the best dad that you can. Put in some time. Teach them lessons, even though you think it's insignificant. We hold on to every word. We might act like we don't. Oh, daddy, you don't know what you're talking about. You da-da-da-da. But when we out in the streets or we somewhere else and some stuff is happening, we start pulling from what you told us. We start drawing. What can I draw from to get me out this situation? What can I draw from to help myself? So talk, because we draw from your words. We draw from the strength of your words. And we need that. So, till next time, y'all, hit like and subscribe. Please comment. Write down what things did you instill in your daughter? What things do you want to instill in your daughter? What kind of relationship do you want with your daughter that you don't have now, but it's in the future is coming? What kind of relationship do you want with your daughter? Type that in. And until next time, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.